Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mohit Ravi Shankar. And on behalf of the iQuantM team, I would like to extend a warm welcome to each and every one of you. We thank you for taking time off to attend our No Nonsense webinar on SAP S4HANA conversion. This webinar is something we've been really looking forward to. There's just so much of knowledge that we have which needs to be shared. We have many SAP customers, SAP consultants, and SAP partners who've joined this webinar, and we are sure this webinar will be very informative for you. We'll be covering the 7-point agenda in the next 1 hour, and without further ado, let's jump right in. After a brief overview about iQuantM technologies and our speakers for today, together, we look at the introduction to SAP S4HANA, methods to convert to SAP S4HANA, technical and functional prerequisites before you start your conversion, project governance tips to follow, and potential hurdles to expect from our lessons learned. iQuantM Technologies is a humble startup with great ambitions. We are headquartered in the United Kingdom with offices in Canada and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. We also have our offshore delivery excellence center in India to help our customers reduce cost by promoting a viable offshore-based implementation and support model. With our Experience Intelligent Enterprise program, we aspire to help our customers around the globe connect their X data and their O data using SAP innovations and solutions. X data being experience data and O data being operational data. A range of SAP-based services primarily focusing on SAP ECC to SAP S4HANA conversions and SAP S4HANA implementations, both cloud and any-premise. We also have our expertise and knowledge set on other SAP products, including SAP Business by Design, SAP Concur, SAP Ariba, and so on. The next slide, it gives me immense pleasure to introduce our eminent speakers, Yumi Okiovo, iQuantM's SAP Director, and Lokesh M. Supadra, CEO of iQuantM Technologies. He is a seasoned SAP veteran with 17 years of SAP experience in implementation, transformation, and conversion projects. She has an immense experience and knowledge on many industry verticals ranging from utilities, manufacturing, retail, construction, and public sector. She is a solution architect who has successfully designed and re-engineered processes for enterprises across the world. Our CEO, Lokesh M. Supadra, is an SAP expert with a deep-rooted knowledge of end-to-end business processes and SAP products, right from the earlier versions of SAP ECC to SAP S4HANA and even mid-market ERPs such as SAP Business by Design. He has grown along with SAP in his professional career, and he has worked on multiple SAP S4HANA conversion projects. Both Yumi and Lokesh have traveled across the globe, interacting and helping enterprises set up their ERP systems. With more than 5 successful SAP S4HANA conversions between them, most notably a manufacturing monopoly in the US and a utility giant in the UK, Lokesh and Yumi are brimming with knowledge to share from their experiences in personally handling high-budget SAP S4HANA conversion projects. I would now like to call upon Yumi to take over and start the main agenda of our no-nonsense webinar on SAP S4HANA conversion. Over to you, Yumi.
Thank you, Mohit. Thank you for logging in and taking to this seminar. I'm going to just dive right into the detail here. We just want to start with an introduction to S4HANA and what's the genesis, where did this all start from? S4HANA, next slide please. S4HANA itself started out, let's look at the journey of SAP itself. SAP started out with R2 in 1979, which was based on mainframe computing. This was successful because of the integration between the operation and the core functions. R2 includes most enterprise functions such as supply chain, manufacturing, accounting, HR. It supported many languages and currencies. It then gained popularity with the multinationals. In 1993, SAP evolved and went on to R3. R3 itself was divided into 3 layers: the database layer, the application layer, which was the computing layer, and the presentation layer, which was the UI UX layer. These 3 layers and their client architecture allowed organizations to run each of the layers on separate specialized hardware. The presentation layer, as we all knew, is the GUI, which runs on each user's computer. The industry-specific solution was also provided as add-ons, so organizations were able to use specialized solutions relevant to their industries. In 2004, SAP went on to create the SAP ERP, which supported thousands of over 50,000 customers in 25 industries since 2004. And while SAP has now started to offer S4HANA, which is a cutting-edge technology, continue to support SAP ECC throughout. So what's really S4HANA? Next slide, please, Mohit. Thank you. What's really what are we looking at? What's the evolution of SAP S4HANA? You know, the HANA database itself existed before S4HANA. This was launched way prior to us knowing what S4 is today. The ECC 6.0 was on the HANA database. That the ECC 6.0, which was launched around 2011, was launched on the HANA database, and it's this ECC running on HANA database that was coined the suite of HANA. In early 2015, SAP came out with Simple Logistics, and the Simple Logistics was the springboard from which we now get our S4HANA. The Simple Finance, and later in that same year, they launched Simple Logistics. Both were bundled together to make the S4HANA 15.11 release. Going on this journey, the current version as it stands now started its journey in 2016. In 2016, the 1610 was released, and since then, SAP has released a yearly upgrade, 1709, 1809, 1909, and later this month we're going to have the 2009. All are now working on the HANA database. So what's this uniqueness of this HANA database? Is the structure of the columnar database. The structure of the database is unique and different. It supports speed and it reduces data footprints. And everybody on here has probably heard about the Universal Journal, which is the S4HANA main journal, which has eliminated all the other tables and put most of them into the compatibility views. Next slide, please. Why S4HANA? Why is SAP pushing S4HANA? Why should we all be running off S4HANA in the next few years? S4HANA itself uses the power of an in-memory database, which I mentioned earlier was the HANA database. It offers real-time that transforms business processes in itself and facilitates intelligent automation. It's new generation, it's future-ready ERP system, and it has inbuilt intelligent technologies such as the artificial intelligence, machine learning, advanced analytics. All this come built in with the S4HANA. S4HANA is this new digital core, is the latest cutting-edge technology that does not only promote business responsiveness, it provides access to data real time, enables business agility through continuous innovation. It's the intelligence. I think that's the hallmark of the S4HANA is the intelligence in itself, which cuts across different lines of businesses, industries, and it comes pre-delivered with standard end-to-end business processes, which helps to accelerate its adoption. It's significantly different from its predecessor in that it's a simplified data architecture and data model. So what are the benefits? SAP has stated that there are some benefits to implement S4HANA based on what their clients have fed back to them as some of the benefits that we're showing on the screen. One of the key ones we want to point out today is the faster of financial documents. Because of that speed, it significantly decreases the number of days it takes to close at month end now. SAP records is about 65% decrease in the closing process. There's also a 50% reduction in manual processes and 75% less manual effort for selected controlled activities. Next slide, please. Okay. most organizations have a 3-5 year IT transformation strategy. How does S4HANA fit into this transformation strategy? You know, it's overall strategy, or is it just an add-on? You know, that the last clients we were working in, they wanted to go paperless by 2021. They wanted to automate 50% of their existing business processes. They wanted the system architecture rather than multiple systems, all of which was part of their overall IT strategy. And as S4HANA was an enabler of this, it must be part of the overall IT strategy of an organization. On there as well, we have the purple bubble. In the purple bubble, we're saying that it is this initiative, your S4HANA conversion, is it an IT-driven initiative, or is it a business-driven initiative? Based on our experience, we feel it should be both. If it is just an IT initiative, the business will see this just as an upgrade, and there will be no alignment between the end users and the business users and the IT team. But if both of them work hand in hand, what data ownership, there's speed of delivery, there's transparency of data, there's an overall reduced cost of ownership, and the business itself own the solution. The orange bubble there, or the blue bubble, so I don't go off tangent, the blue bubble there, we're saying it's the business change. From what we've seen in the implementations we've been through, we notice that the business change is a requirement, is a solid requirement in your conversion journey. The business change is the bridge between the technology and the users. Change management ensures a smooth business conversion. You know, they do this planning and the alignment, and they're building out the rollout, and they're making the IT changes, whatever transformation S4HANA delivers, they're making it easy to land for the business. So they are an important part of your success. Another thing we're going to talk about is quality assurance. Quality assurance, that's the orange bubble, is not really popular with the traditional rollouts we've had in the S4HANA space, or in traditional SAP implementation. However, quality assurance is now is required when there is an S4HANA conversion. We are saying this because it ensures the system conversion integrity. It protects the IT project from unknown incidents and challenges that may have been overlooked by even the SIs. It gives the stakeholder confidence in the expected end result. Moving on to the next slide. Well, I'm going to say a bit about iQuantM and where we come in and why we feel that, you know, will be a value add to any S4HANA conversion. At iQuantM, we have not just the experience, because like we already know on all our adverts, we've been on 5 plus successful S4HANA conversions. We are now saying we have the experience, we have the exposure, we have the business and the technical expertise to help you achieve a successful S4HANA conversion. In addition to this, we have sound business knowledge. Lokesh and I and our team have been we've been around extensive business experience. We have worked with several verticals, several organizations. So our experience cuts across multiple industries: manufacturing, oil and gas, public sector, services, utilities, you know, you name it, we're in that space. We have that experience, business knowledge and exposure. We believe that this too works hand in hand. Not just the technical expertise, but the business exposure in itself is a springboard for a successful conversion. We even at iQuantM specialize in S4HANA conversion, but also work alongside with your team. We call that flexible engagement model. We can work alongside with any SI to deliver other deliverables. This includes, we can work alongside with you on your S4HANA journey. We can provide you with a target operating model, help you create an IT roadmap, and actually articulate your transformation journey. We can help you develop a proof of concept, so you can see the features that are available in S4HANA. Just trial it out before you actually migrate. We work alongside whichever SI of your choice is as quality assurance specialists because we've been around the block several times. So we know the things to look out for and the things to avoid. We can also provide an S/4HANA readiness assessment, independent assessment system, and to see if you are actually ready for the S/4HANA conversion. And in addition to the, I think Mohit alluded to this earlier, we can implement new technologies for you, the multi-bank connectivity, making tax digital, on all the slick features that SAP is now promoting. Okay. I think at the time I want to hand over to Lokesh. Lokesh will be looking at the technical aspect and the conversion methods. Lokesh, over to you.
Thank you, Fimi. Thanks everyone for joining. So I would like to cover the different conversion approach or methods that customers can adopt for them to land into the target S/4HANA system. So there are three main conversion methods. So it depends upon their existing landscape. Are they an existing SAP customer, or they are not on? They might be on any other ERP system. Considering like what kind of timeline they've been using the ERP system. So all these factors are key instrumental in terms of determining the best approach for customers to land into SAP S/4HANA system. So the predominant focus for today would be the system conversion. We will be doing a deep dive on the system conversion methods. And then in addition to that, there are options for customers to choose between new implementation and landscape transformation. So moving on, I will briefly touch upon when a customer has to choose new implementation. There are, like as Fumi explained, SAP is in existence for close to 40 years now. There have been customers who've been using SAP from the inception, and then they would have walked the path along with SAP, upgraded, migrated the system to the system that what they have now. So during the course of time, they would have developed their own bespoke solution. In addition to that, they would have got processes which have not been as per the best practices of the world. So for those customers who've been using the system for quite a long time, and then they don't technically meet the prerequisites of the system, even though they meet the prerequisites for them to convert into S4, their processes might be cumbersome, and they would want to adopt the cutting edge technology or the latest innovations that SAP S/4HANA has to offer. So for those customers, we recommend to look at new implementation as an option. In addition to implementing the SAP S/4HANA system, SAP has given tools for them to migrate their old data from their old ERP system into the S/4HANA. So they can think of deploying the SAP system on premise in their own data center, or they can also deploy SAP S/4HANA on cloud. In addition to that, we have also seen customers started to show traction on the SAP S/4HANA public cloud, where you don't have the complete maintenance or the system landscape maintenance is done by SAP by themselves. So there are viable options for customers in that space as well. In addition to that, moving on, we have seen customers a global organization where they have multiple system architecture. In addition to having their ERP system, which is ECC, they also have a CRM, SRM, external warehouse management, BPC, and all the other peripheral systems running along with their ERP system. In addition to that, they would have, during the course of the organization growth, they would have gone for multiple acquisitions, multiple mergers. They would have carved out some of their business function to some other entity. So they would have a multi-tier architecture spread across the globe. And then if they want to have or simplify their IT landscape or IT infrastructure to one single source of truth, which is the SAP S/4HANA, we recommend them to, SAP recommends, and we also recommend them to go for a system conversion option into their SAP S/4HANA, which can be deployed on-prem or on cloud, and then slowly use the landscape transformation process to migrate their, for example, the CRM solution. The latest innovation from SAP for the CRM space is the C4HANA. And then in terms of SRM, the sourcing and procurement is now being given to the customers using the intelligent SAP Ariba solution, which is a cloud-based product. So we recommend customers to discuss and then understand what is their end state should be. in terms of their is the S4HANA conversion part of their IT transformation strategy, and choosing the right approach for them to land onto the SAP S4HANA. So moving on, as I explained, we wanted to do a deep train on the system approach. So there are certain prerequisites that the existing SAP customers has to meet for them to get converted onto SAP S4HANA. And then SAP has given its inbuilt tool, basically the software update manager, which most of the existing ECC customers are aware. This is the same tool that we use for any of the EHP upgrade or version upgrades of our current ECC system. We can use the same software update manager for us to do the system conversion from SAP ECC to SAP S4HANA. In addition to that, we have this tool called DMO, which is database migration option, which will do your database migration from any traditional DB, say Oracle or SQL or Linux or whatever DB that the customer might operate their ECC system, they can convert into S4HANA. So there are certain steps that you need to follow to understand what is your current system health for you to make a better decision. So moving on, I will tell you the phases that a customer has to walk for them to successfully convert into SAP S/4HANA. So the preparation phase, where the customers can take the help of us, SAP, run their readiness check, which will give them a detailed report to make sure that report consists of information for the decision makers to decide the best possible approach for them to do a system conversion. It will give them all the prerequisites that they need to tick for them to convert into S4. In addition to that, it also tells them what are the potential add-ons that they have got which are not compatible in S4, or you have to do certain things on your source system to make it compatible on your S4 conversion. And then the third phase, we do the actual simplification checks. This particular process during the conversion will highlight a lot of errors that it might be data related inconsistencies that we have to resolve for us to have a smooth transition to S4, or the functionality changes as such in ECC to S4, to name a few, the new asset accounting or the credit management. So there are certain changes in the functionalities that SAP was providing solution in these areas. When you convert on S4, you make sure that your configurations are right in place, so that when you land into S4, you start using the system correctly. So this simplification important for us to it on each of the clients that we have. In addition to running it in your dev quality production, you have to also inside the box, you have to run it in each of the client to make sure that there is error free for you to start the or the so consist of the actual conversion, where you use the software update manager using the DMO tool for you to actually convert your ECC to S4HANA system and data HANA database. And the final stage would be the post conversion. So once you have converted your once you have converted your system to S4 and your database to HANA, you have to do a certain post conversion configuration changes to make sure that the new changes in functionality starts working. In addition to that, you have to do the complete data migration. So there is a specific task that you have to perform in the data migration cockpit. This particular task will be responsible for writing the data from your traditional database tables to the new universal journals of SAP S/4HANA. And then the most important part of the post go live activity is to do the data validation. Make sure that your data and the target data have come through fine. There is no inconsistency in your balances. There's no inconsistency in your report. Everything works fine. And then you go live and then make sure that the users start using the new S/4HANA system. So we potentially recommend customers to take the downtime very lean. So you have to make sure that you have multiple iterations before to play it accordingly to make your actual system downtime lean during a quiet window of your business, predominantly a weekend. So it might be like users would have logged off from their ECC system on Friday evening, and then when they come back to office on Monday morning, they would be logging into the Fiori application, start using the latest SAP S/4HANA system. Yeah. So moving on. So I would like to walk you through a typical or an sample conversion process where users have to concentrate in terms of how this conversion approach is taken into consideration. So the option one, which is the recommended approach by SAP, is like whenever you do a conversion, basically I have marked 1, 2, 3, 4. So the first conversion is going to be the sandbox conversion. The second one is going to be your development box conversion, and third one is your quality, and fourth one is your production conversion by itself. So we have this business as usual landscape at the top, and you have your SAP S/4HANA project conversion landscape at the bottom. So when users are trying to do the actual conversion, we recommend to take a production copy and then do a sandbox conversion to test the waters, to make sure that your system, like what would be the potential hurdles that you need to cross for you to convert into S4. So the sandbox approach or the proof of concept approach will give you the actual efforts involved, and then the you can jot down the roadmap for you to make sure that you have a smooth, successful production conversion. So having said that, there are two options that we are discussing here is, in addition to the sandbox conversion, when you start your actual conversion on your BAU landscape, we recommend customers to take the latest production copy every time they do a conversion and then convert it into an S/4HANA system. For example, in this diagram, option one, you can see the production ECC system was copied onto your S/4HANA conversion landscape, and then it was converted into S4. Similarly, the quality, when you do a quality conversion, you take the latest production copy, convert that into your quality S/4HANA system. And then when you do the production, you convert your existing production ECC to production S4. The points to note is, like there have been customers would have a lot of changes happening during the same course of time. When you do a system conversion, there should be changes moving on from your BAU landscape between your dev, quality, and production system. So for all the changes that you are doing on the BAU landscape, you have to make sure that you follow the dual development strategy, where you replicate the development changes that you have moved from your dev box to quality on your dev S4. So this makes sure that the configurations in your BAU landscape and the configurations onto your project landscape until it becomes the BAU, once you do the production conversion, are in sync. We have seen customers wanting to go for the option two, mainly because like they would have a lot of mini projects happening on their landscape. They would not have a change freeze for the entire duration of the conversion project. So they want to have their mission critical transports moving to production, and then they don't want to overwrite their development box with a copy of production. So what option they choose is to go for the option number two, where they take the development ECC copy and then they do a conversion on top of it to become the development S/4HANA system. By this, what happens? They lose the opportunity of understanding if there is any data related inconsistency that might arise during the production conversion, because the only time they have taken the production copy and converted was during the sandbox conversion. And then with that knowledge of sandbox conversion, they should be expecting there shouldn't be any kind of data inconsistency when they actually do the production conversion. So this approach is not recommended by SAP, but customers do go for this approach, considering the fact that they have a lot of changes that needs to go into production. The mission critical changes needs to go into production between the timeline that you're actually doing the conversion. So we'll be able to work with the customer, understand their landscapes better, and then recommend them the best possible approach that they can follow to make their landscapes synchronized and then have a smooth transition. So moving on. So I would like to touch upon the difference between a brownfield and a smart brownfield conversion option. So the traditional system conversion is called as brownfield. You use the standard tools offered by SAP, and then you do a system conversion using your software update manager and your DMO tool. We have seen customers who are, during the course of their organization's growth, they would have gone for acquisitions, they have gone for merge outs, they would have gone for, carving out a portion of their business and then sold it out to some other entity. So they would have gone for, the system would have been matured for a longer duration of time. And then they also meet the technical prerequisites for them to reach onto their S/4HANA system. So for customers of that sort, they always wanted to, take the S4 conversion on a piecemeal approach. They wanted to test the water by taking their corporate or the main entity into the S4 world along with their data, and then roll out their subsidiaries or roll out their other legal entities in a phased approach. The smart brownfield conversion approach is the smartest option for them to decide it. You have the option of going live with a specific legal entity on your S4HANA system. Make sure that the S4HANA conversion worked fine, your businesses are aligned correctly, your users are equipped with the proper change management that you have done. Once all of this is fine, and then you slowly start rolling out the other legal entity to have minimum disruption in your the system conversion. Disruption would be very minimum there. So there are customers going for this option. It depends upon their number of legal entities, the user size, what is their database growth. All this has to be taken into consideration before we choose this option for as a conversion strategy. Moving on. So I would like to touch upon the what happens during the sum tool. Basically, the software update manager tool with the DMO is the SAP standard tool which is used for an actual conversion. So there are close to 8 phases in the tool, and the first 5 phase would be running along the system uptime. Basically, we call it as sum uptime. So this will be done when users are actually using the system to make sure the system is technically ready for a conversion. So for example, we will be running it from say Monday to Friday along with the users, and then making sure the system is ready for a conversion. And then once they log out on Friday evening, we start the system downtime. We import all the prerequisites, make sure that it's all ready, do the simplification item checklist, make sure it is all error free, and then you actually do a system conversion using the tool. So these are the phases that are involved in the sum and the DMO tool. Moving on. So walking you through on a sample conversion, I would also touch upon the technical prerequisites that one has to meet and the functional changes that users have to incorporate during the S4 conversion. So the technical prerequisite as such is that you need to make sure that you're on a correct operating system OS and then a correct database level. To give you an example, like if you're on Windows OS, you need to be 2016 and above OS level. Or if you're imagine that you're on an Oracle database, you have to make sure that you're on version 12 and above for you to do a system conversion or a database conversion. So like if he does not meet the prerequisite, there are options for us to do an upgrade first, make sure that we technically meet the prerequisite, and then we think about doing the S4HANA conversion. And then we have also seen customers wanting to test the cloud adoption. They wanted to do a system move along with their conversion, like they wanted to do the sandbox conversion on AWS or say Microsoft Azure. They want to move their data center from their on-premise to test the cloud. How does it work? So SAP has provided them an option to do a data center migration along with the system conversion using this SAP DMO and the system move option, with which by one shot they can land on to their respective target SAP S4HANA version along with the database conversion, along with the OS upgrade, along with the system move from on-prem to cloud. So this is a smarter option for customers who want to optimize their infrastructure cost. They want to have their system hosted on cloud, make sure that we have a service partner who make sure that the cloud system runs as expected, make sure it has minimum disruption, all the advantages that a cloud infrastructure would give to a customer. In addition to that, we are on the latest version of SAP S4HANA is 1909. If you want to have the 1909, the database should be HANA version 2. So we have to make sure that the technical prerequisites meet for you to do system move along with your database conversion during the S4 conversion. So there are certain prerequisites which has to be met based on the target version that what you want to move to or what you want to migrate to. So these are they can be you can obtain this information from the PAM. So based on your existing architecture, SAP the product availability matrix would guide you the technical prerequisites that you need to meet. And then in terms of HANA sizing, we whatever conversions that we see, 30% reduction in the so the last conversion that we did was a 3 TB hard disk, and then like when they converted into S4, they saw a 30% reduction in their data size. Based on when you do the readiness check, SAP would be able to recommend your HANA appliance that you have to procure for you to do a conversion if you're going to host it on-prem, and then it will also guide you like what would be your projected data growth, and then give you a sizing. So we also recommend our customers to think out archiving and an option, because like if you've been using the system for a long time and if you have a large data volume, we recommend archiving as an option to make sure that they archive the old data and then go lean when they go on a conversion. That way they can save the HANA appliance cost. In addition to that, they can also optimize the downtime, and then they can see a reduction in the total conversion timeline as well. So we would be able to help you, guide you, walk along with you in terms of the conversion process. Moving on, I will quickly touch upon the functional changes that we need to. Yeah. So in terms of the preparation phase that I was talking about earlier, the readiness check, SAP has released the readiness check 2.2, which is basically gives you the complete overview, analytic dashboard in terms of what are the custom codes that are getting affected during your custom S4 conversion, what are the add-ons that are not compatible with S4, or what are the changes that you have to make in your source system to make sure that your add-ons, like there are customers, we have seen customers using Vertex for their VAT in the US, for Nakisa for their hierarchy management in HR. So there are certain add-ons that every customers around the globe use, and we have to make sure that those add-ons are compatible. So this particular will give you the complete, and then what are the prerequisites that you have works perfectly when you move on to S4. And in terms of sizing, it gives you your sizing options that you need to make sure, and then it tells you the simplification item checklist. It will tell you like what are the functionality that's are getting affected, what are the functionality that needs to be changed, etc. And then it also gives you the Fiori recommendation. So I think Fumi will be covering our approach in terms of Fiori with the conversions that we have handled. So we always recommend customers to, if at all, if you want to have the Fiori, they have to start engaging the business earlier during the conversion. So the business change management and the Fiori enablement should go hand in hand for them to have the better usability of the system. So moving on. So the custom code remediation is a key phase of your conversion, where the readiness checklist would give you the list of custom objects that are affected. So the primary thing why you have to have an intelligent SI is to make sure that understands the custom objects that you have developed during the course of your organization's growth, to see if there is any standard alternative available in S4. So there's no point just converting whatever custom codes that you had as is to S4, because then you don't get to enjoy the benefits that SAP has to offer, the best practices, the industry-specific best practices that SAP has to offer. So the person who understands S4 better would be able to guide you. You have developed this particular process to meet this requirement. In S4, you can do it in a better way. S4 has a different option for it. So you need to have an SI who is intelligent enough to guide you, do an hand-holding support in terms of making sure that you don't remediate whatever it's not needed. So if there are certain custom objects that are being developed and used by the system organization for a longer period of time, that would need they would need that custom objects on the S4. So this particular remediation tool, there are a lot of tools available by SAP, standard tools, which can be used for you to remediate. Basically, Fumi would be touching upon the project governance or the methodology that you have to do. But this particular remediation has to be checked in the prepare and analyze phase of your conversion, and then the custom code remediation as such is done during the release phase using the SAP S4HANA Viewer. So moving along, there are intelligent tools SAP has offered. You have this custom code analyzer. Your custom code migration work list will give you a lot of informative, intuitive dashboards, like what level of objects are affected, what are the priority of this custom object, how frequently these custom objects are being used in the production system. Do you really need to migrate or remediate this custom code? What are the options for you to it gives you a complete dashboard with which the business can analyze it better. The ABAP custom code inspector is an intelligent tool which will give you the details of what has to be changed, and then like what particular area that particular custom program or custom object is not working. So with this intelligent tools, we'll be able to make sure that you have a smooth transition with respect to your custom objects. Moving along. And then the simplification checks, this is a major thing which I explained, I think, before. So once you are ready for the S4 conversion, you run the simplification checks to make sure that you are error free, your data inconsistencies are corrected in the source system, your functionality configuration issues are corrected in the source system, so that you can have a smooth transition to S4. So moving along, I will explain the functionality changes that SAP asks customer to mandatorily change in their source system. One such is the business partner conversion. So we always recommend customers to understand the business partner conversion as a key aspect, and then consider this even before the actual production conversion. For example, as most of you are aware, ECC, you had your master data in silos, like you had your vendor master separately, supplier master separately, you had your customer master separately, you had your employee master separately, and then there are different teams handling different master data, which in certain cases there are duplicates of record. We have seen like the same records being handled, created multiple times. Some users might be posting some transaction to a different number, but then it should have gone to a different number. So to eradicate all of this, SAP wanted to unify the master data into one single path, which is the business partner. So the business partner master data will be the key master data, and then the peripheral aspects, whether that business partner is a customer to you, or a vendor to you, or is an employee to your organization, or is a financial institution to your organization. So it's all been controlled in one single place called business partner. So SAP recommends all these customers and vendors to be migrated to business partner. So we have seen customers having a lot of duplicate records, strategizing a plan, making sure they eradicate all the duplicate, and then making sure they convert multiple customers and vendors. For example, a customer can also be a vendor to you. So you have to formalize a plan to merge those two customer and vendor record into one single BP record. So this strategy can be understood by customer when they actually do the sandbox conversion and development conversion. And we strongly recommend customers to, once they've understood the trick of the trade, it's better for us to go directly to production, do the BP conversion even before you think of your Q S4 conversion or a pre-production S4 conversion. Because when you do the BP conversion at an earlier stage in production, it saves a lot of time. When you actually do a production conversion, you can optimize your downtime, and then the complete conversion timeline of your production can be drastically reduced, which we'll be able to guide our customers better when we talk based on their situations. Moving along. These are other functional changes that customers have to mitigate for them to successfully get converted into S4. Basically, the cash and liquidity management is now moved to the FSCM suite. It's a separate license by itself. The traditional credit management, which was available in sales and distribution, is no more available. You have to go for the FSCM suite. The foreign trade is now global trade services. You have this new asset accounting as the predominant the functionality. The material ledger is mandatory in S4, but adopting for actual costing or going for the inventory valuation approach, moving average price, is still an option to the customers. And then you have got some changes in the COPA. So all this are certain changes that customers has to absorb or make changes in their source system, so that when they move to their target S4, they start using the functionalities correctly. Moving along. This is a lot of information for you guys to absorb, because this is the overall changes in terms of functionality, in terms of solution, what is the new, how SAP is reshaping its digital core, how would be the next gen industry revolution will happen in terms of S4HANA, how this S4HANA as a digitalized core will help you organization adopt to the industry 4.0. So I will not be covering up each of the changes, but it's for you guys to absorb it. But few notable changes that I would like to highlight are the customers who've been using the SRM system. SAP recommends them to move to the Ariba as part of the transformation. So it's not necessary that if you use SRM in the ECC, you have to convert it into Ariba when you do an S4 conversion. So these part I'm talking about are the transformation part, which comes after their conversion. So we always advocate our customers to go for the lift and shift. whatever functionality that you have in ECC, lift it and shift it to S4, and then think about the transformation, right? Which Fumi will be covering in more detail in the coming slides. So these are certain changes that happens in terms of your the success factors and intelligent cloud product for your employee central, payroll, talent management, and your recruitment. You have this Concur for your travel and expense management. So there are a lot of innovative piece of software available, and a lot of innovations that SAP is doing as we talk. So it's high time that customers understand that they need to move on, considering whatever is happening around the world. They have to be one step ahead the competition, and then make sure they have their IT strategy along with their S4HANA. Moving along. Yeah, so with that, I would like to give it back to Fumi. She would be able to walk you through on the project governance. Over to you, Fumi.
Thank you. Thank you, Lokesh. That was really good. Very quickly, there are a few things that we also want to show you before we call it a day. If you have questions, please pop it into the chat. We'll be addressing some questions before we go today. We'll pick some of them. The ones we can't, we'll send it to you by email. So feel free to leave your email address so we can send you the responses. For the project governance, SAP advocates that when we convert, we use the activate methodology. The SAP activate methodology for the conversion has 3 phases. It has a planning phase, a preparation phase, and a realization phase. I know Lukesh has said a lot about these tools, but I just want to mention 1 or 2 of them that is quite important. For the planning phase, the most important tools you need to look out for there are the transformation navigator, the roadmap viewer. The transformation navigator is a tool that guides you on how to plan the move. It assesses your current landscape, your business strategy, and tailor-makes whatever your specific industry is to give you an assessment. It's like a self-service road mapping tool to help you chart your digital transformation journey. So that's quite important. The roadmap viewer as well contains the procedures and the methods that help customers bring improvements and innovations into their company. So that one, both of them work hand in hand to help you map your path to future SAP products and the intelligent enterprise. In the preparation phase, I would like to mention, I think you mentioned this as well, Lukesh, you mentioned the readiness check. That is quite key, because that's the one that identifies factors such as transactions, customizations, and table contents that you need to zero in on during your migration. The preparation phase in itself, what the tool that I want to highlight there, apart from the add-ons that Lukesh has talked about, or on installing the add-ons, knowing the add-ons to keep, is the preparation, is the maintenance planner. The maintenance planner enables easy and efficient planning of all changes in your SAP system landscape. So this is quite useful in that preparation phase. And the realization phase is where all the customizations that you have that you've identified that needs remediation, that's when it's addressed. Lukesh mentioned about the SOM tool, the software update manager. That's where that comes in, as that's the one that helps to migrate from your existing system into your S4HANA database. Moving on quickly for time, just want to highlight a few more things. The cutover strategy is also quite key. Unlike traditional migrations, where cutover strategy, you start talking about cutover after the first, and when you start getting close to UATs, where you start talking about cutover. However, with conversion, you plan from your cutover from the first system copy. So download your first system copy is where you start looking at the timings it take for events, the sequencing of events, and how the handoffs will work. You need a robust and a plan that is well communicated to the team to ensure a seamless transition. It has to be a detailed plan which shows the clear outages, the system downtimes, who is responsible for what, because this is what promotes a high success rate. Go on to the next slide, please. And in this next slide, Lukesh has alluded to this. With iQuantM, we are promoting the lift and shift methodology, which is take whatever you currently have in your system now, and which is your as this ERP, and put that in your to-be. We believe this will enable a faster transition, and it will also reduce the conversion timeline and cost. So in order to get a faster return on investment and to reduce your total cost of ownership, this is the methodology we're advocating, a conversion, a lift and shift conversion strategy. This is because the total transformation journey is usually between 3 to 5 years of most IT organizations. However, if in between there you say, okay, my S4HANA journey, I want to make a conversion, just focus on that and do that, close it before you layer it with the new innovations that SAP has, such as artificial intelligence, machine learning, intelligent robotics, process automation. All those ones can come after. Do the lift and shift first, isolate the conversion from all other conversions. This minimizes the project risk and the issues surrounding the conversion. Subsequent to that, then you can have the cutting edge technology. So we're saying it should be a stage transformation to get a speedy return on investment. Okay, moving to the last slide, or the last few slides, which is just the product potential hurdles and lessons learned. So in the potential hurdles and lessons learned, this just talks about what we've seen from our experience with working on all these projects. What are the things you need to zero in on to succeed in your conversion? The very first one there is to make sure you have the right choice of SI. A wrong choice of SI will just take you on the long road. But the right choice of SI, and especially quality assurance specialists like iQuantM on that project, will guarantee you success. You probably need to invest in a proof of concept and a sandbox approach, which is test the waters first. Let's see what SAP has to offer. You can do a POC on AWS or Azure before finalizing your S4HANA conversion strategy. Also, give proper attention to your business partner conversion. This can be quite sticky if it is not properly done. Look for what are your account groups, what are your field status, which ones am I bringing across, which ones am I merging, my number ranges. These can pose a problem if not done properly. Next is the extensive testing. You cannot cut corners. Testing itself has to be done extensively, testing, just like when you buy a property in the UK, they say location, location, location. For conversion, it is testing. And that's your takeaway from today's seminar. Testing. You need to test extensively. Then archiving data. Make sure you get rid of redundant data. If it is not required statutorily, in the UK it's HMRC. If it's not a statutorily required data, we're asking that you get rid of it. It slows down your data efficiency, and you have better up when it's not properly archived, when there's too much data. So you need to ensure that you convert to safe space and reduce the required target hardware size so that you can get to the required target hardware size. Okay, next please. If we just go last slide, we'll talk about just voice over this, just go straight to the last slide in the next few minutes that we have so that we can take 1 or 2 questions. The last slide, very long. Okay. The do's and don'ts. I'll talk a bit about this in the do's and don'ts. One of the things we have to mention here is your Fury strategy. Start your Fury enablement early during the project to avoid unwanted hurdles post-implementation. Based on our experience, we recommend the SAP Fury Rapid Content Activation approach. Engage your GRC team early. Fury catalog should be designed based on the roles so as not to overwhelm the screens and loading speed. Okay, so this is the final slide before we take 1 or 2 questions. Sorry, we're overrunning by a couple of minutes. The final slide, if you back up to that, Mohit, is there's some things that you cannot do during your conversion. There's some things you can absolutely not do when you are in conversion. When you're in a conversion, when you're doing a system conversion, you decide now that you want to implement document splitting. You have to have identified all your data inconsistencies in the source system. Switch from the account based. You can't decide that I want to switch from the account based approach now to parallel approach during conversion. All this needs to have done before. And there are some things you need to be aware of. Make sure you've closed all your month-end and year-end processes before you take your system copy. Very vital. Make sure you engage the business earlier to ensure readiness. And as I said earlier, start your Fury enablement and access control early. And that's me done. So if you have questions, please pop it into the screens and just take one or two before we go today. Rohit, I'm handing over to you.
Yep. Thanks a lot. That was a great presentation. So we've had a couple of questions, and I've been able to answer the questions myself. But there are a couple of questions which really needs your expertise, Fumi and Lokesh. One of the questions is, can smart brownfield conversion be used to migrate each company code wise into within a controlling area? Let me repeat that again. Can smart brownfield conversion be used to migrate each company code wise within a single controlling area?
Hi, Mohit. I'd like to take the question. So, yes, as I was explaining before, for customers who've been into the system for a long time, so they have to have it as a phased approach. So they have to take one or two company codes into S4 first, which has the complete set of functions that the organization is using, and then roll the other company codes subsequently. They have the users are aware of how the working handled in S4. Yes, to answer your question, yes, we can do that.
Another question. So this was something that we had covered already. Conversion, what tools are we really talking about? What are the tools that we use?
So, like the actual conversion happens using the software update manager and the DMO tool. In addition to that, if customers are looking out for a data center migration, we have the system move as a tool that can be used for customers to move from on-prem to the cloud. So these are the predominant tools that we use for them to successfully convert into S/4HANA target system.
Perfect. Thanks, Lokesh. I think the other questions I was able to answer them. We have a lot of good comments and feedbacks. Excellent session, very good presentation. Thanks a lot, Nishan and Mr. Akibe. All right. SAP Transformation Navigator. Can you give a short introduction to that?
Sorry?
SAP Transformation Navigator.
Okay. So basically, that's a tool, as Fumi was explaining, a global organization, like when they have multiple system architecture, for them to have a proper roadmap, like for them to land onto S4, they need to, in addition to meeting their prerequisites, technical prerequisites, they also have to have a proper roadmap, which is in line with their IT strategy, right? So SAP would be able to help them carve out their roadmap for them to for their successful S4 conversion. With respect to combining multiple system into one single source of truth, all that part of their IT strategy has to be paved correctly for them to go and then settle down in the S4.
Perfect. Thanks a lot, Lokesh. We have another question. What are the different data migration approaches?
So when they say data migration, you have this data migration cockpit, part of your post-conversion activity. So that's where the actual data to the new universal tables get updated. But if you're talking about doing a new implementation and then doing the data migration from your old ECC system onto the fresh S/4HANA system, or you're talking about like it depends scenario to scenario, Mohit. So we have also seen customers doing the carve out, where using the SLO tool, where they move out a portion of their business from this. They either do a merger or they do a sellout. So all those scenario has to taken into consideration before answering that question.
I think what the person meant was, I don't know if what the person meant, if there was a separate data migration step required for conversion, which is a no. your data comes along with the conversion. There's no separate data migration step or specialist required. Lucas, you can pitch in more on that.
Yep. So it's part of your post conversion. The data migration cockpit can handle the data migration as such.
Perfect.
Okay, Mohit, the last question.
Yep. I think there's a question regarding a phased approach to move from cost-based COPA, from ECC to S4. So the question goes like this. As per best practices, what is the phased approach to move from cost-based COPA to account plus cost-based COPA? So I think this is
Yeah. So yeah.
a technical
So
question. Yeah.
actually, even in ECC, customers were able to use both, like the account-based approach or the cost-based approach, right? So SAP is recommending customers to go onto the account-based approach because now, you don't have the concept of secondary cost element or the cost element as such. It's all part of your general ledger now, right? So account-based COPA would be the right approach for customers, but customers who've been using the costing-based COPA for all their settlement processes, all this, who've been using the controlling module, the maintenance, project systems, or the multiple other controlling aspects, they can still use the costing-based approach in the S4HANA. Our recommendation would be to land on S4 with their existing COPA configurations and approach, and then plan out for a strategy on the S4HANA system rather than doing along with the conversion.
So I think we have one last question, post which I think we can end this. It's an interesting question. Do you think this pandemic is going to have an impact on the choice between on-premise and cloud moving forward?
Yeah, absolutely. Like it will have a potential, impact on the decision making. So, like cloud, as most everyone is talking about, the cloud adoption is something that people are looking out as an option, a cost saving option. Moreover, considering the time where initially people talked about security, what would be the data security when they move to the cloud. Now, I think people have understood that it would be an inevitable part of an IT strategy. Having your maintaining your servers, having your data center in house, and then doing all this data maintenance activity, all those can be drastically, the cost involved can be drastically reduced if you host it onto a Microsoft Azure or an AWS or a Google Cloud for that matter. So it depends like on a case to case basis and what is their IT strategy to decide better. But yes, it will have a considerable impact on the decision making.
That's right. Yep. I think we have one last question. How long can it take to migrate from ECC to S4? And also, are there more customizations in S4 HANA in comparison to ECC?
No. So, like whatever projects that I and Fumi have handled, if you are just going to do a lift and shift approach, you're not going to take not more than 8 to 9 months, right? Even if you're going for a 4 or 5 conversion cycle, like sandbox, dev, quality, pre-production, and production, it's not going to take more than 8 to 9 months if you're going to do a lift and shift along with Fiori enablement. But when you are thinking about a transformation along with your conversion, that's where it can be from 1 year to 5 years. That's why we don't recommend customers to have the transformation along with S4 conversion. You make sure that you are ready to your engine. Basically, your engine is ready to take all the peripherals that SAP's new innovation has to happen. So you need to be on S4 for you to get your armor ready, right? So think about converting to S4 first, and then start investing or think about transformation like artificial intelligence, machine learning. There are a lot of new innovations that are available, and then SAP is keep on innovating in this area. So as Fumi rightly said, if you have a 5-year transformation strategy, by the time you end your transformation, what would be your software would be outdated by then, because in this span of 5 years you will have more latest technologies happening around the world. So make sure that you are technically equipped for you to absorb the latest innovations by converting into the digital core, and then think about transformations later.
Yeah. I think that's about it, Lokesh and Fumi, with the questions, and we've also run out of time. So thank you one and all for taking time off from your daily tasks and this webinar. I'm very sure that it was really informative to all of you, and we hope that you've gained a lot of knowledge from this. If you have any queries or comments or feedback, please feel free to get in touch with us. We'll be dropping a mail to all of you soon, a follow-up email post the webinar, and if required, we can keep in touch. And with respect to S4HANA, again, this webinar is a no-nonsense webinar on the conversion from SAP ECC to S4HANA. But even if it's a cloud product, if you're moving to S4HANA cloud, we have our expertise in that in that field as well. I myself have been part of 3 S4HANA cloud projects, and I'm certified. And we definitely have the experience and capabilities, of handling S4HANA projects, be it implementation or conversion or transformation. So once again, thanks a lot to everyone who was part of this webinar. We hope to see you soon in the next webinar, the next no-nonsense webinar that we'll be conducting. And thanks a lot for your time once again, and have a great day. Cheers.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.